doing the post-mortem on the Zimmer and Spielman regime, we're starting to get some clues as to why this thing died. And we talked about Spielman was on the Move the Sticks podcast with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks earlier in the week. Said some things about him, quarterback position things, but he took a massive haymaker at Mike Zimmer, and we wanted to talk about it, but we're too lazy to transcribe it, and thankfully our friends over at Vikings Wire, they put it on wax. And Spielman starts off talking about how there's so much offensive coordinator change under Zimmer, because he went from Norv to Shermer, and then JDF, and then Stefanski, and then Gary, and then Clint. So there's a lot of things going on, but also Zimmer's stubbornness to his scheme as opposed to adjusting his scheme. Yeah. So with changes basically happening every year, Spielman admitted it was hard to keep adapting on the fly with no stability. You try to do your best to adapt, and the guys that we do have, can you do some things from your scheme to maybe adjust a little bit to their skill set? But when you have the coaching turnover that it is, and you're always trying to marry up the personnel to the scheme, and there are always that some of these coaches, and you see some of them doing some things that say, hey, I have to adjust my scheme to what the players can do well, said Spielman. Some coaches are just, this is what we run, and this is what we have to have, and if they don't fit this, then I don't want them. Some coaches, and just listening to a lot of coaching interviews and stuff like that, say, I can do this with this player, and I know we can potentially adjust our scheme to fit what he does best. So it's obviously some major shade at Zimmer. It's a little bit of shade at the former OCs as well, because the prime case for this is Cordero Patterson. Of course, Spielman traded back into the first round in 2013 with the Patriots go get Cordero, Rocky Top. But under Zimmer, under Norv, he rarely saw the field. Well, he did towards the end, but he rarely saw the field because he can't run a full route tree. They tried to just jam him into the mold of a standard issue wide receiver. They tried to make him Keenan Allen. They tried to make him Adam Thielen. He was never going to be that. But what he was, and still is a dynamic offensive weapon. That's his versatility is his strength. And you see in Atlanta, Arthur Smith, Cordero, even at 30 years old, had a career season. That's what the Vikings should have been doing with him forever. But so that had to rankle Spielman just a little bit. And plus, you look at some of the draft picks that have never gotten the time of day under Zimmer. Now, the fans always assume that it's on the player. Oh, the player can't play. The player is bad in the meeting rooms. He can't do this. He can't do that. What if Zimmer is just holding a vendetta against Spielman? And it's possible. And we've talked about the obtuseness of Zimmer, where it's like, hey, this is our scheme. This is what we run. We're not open to new ideas. We're not going to incorporate new player skill sets. They have to fit all of these various silos in our defense, because that's what we do. Same thing with offense to a degree. And you look at the whole trope of, Zimmer never plays rookies. It's true to a degree, because the development of young players, especially mid-round guys, first and second round picks, yes, they got on the field and some of them did well, but the development of mid-round guys, it's been kind of few and far between. It has. But you look at some of the draft picks, like Patrick Jones II. Would have liked to see him on the field just a little bit more. How about DJ Wanham last year? How about Kenny Willekes this season before the tail end? You're starting to see guys that obviously have a lot of talent, but didn't seem to have the time of day under the Zimmer regime because they didn't fit into the scheme, that whole stuff. And also, the prime example from this year's class is going to be Kellen Mond and Wyatt Davis. Again, fans are all assuming that, Kellen Davis is garbage. That's why he wasn't quarterback too. Or was it that Zimmer never had the time of day for young quarterbacks besides Teddy? And he was like, you know who's going to be giving me the best shot in Green Bay? Yeah, Sean Mannion on one day of practice, fresh off the COVID list, as opposed to giving all the snaps to this rookie quarterback. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And the fans, Kellen Mond is a bust because he almost threw a pick against the Packers. On 0 practice reps. Great. Cool. Literally coming in cold. And also, Wyatt Davis. The Vikings had so many damn issues along the offensive line, but a hallmark of the Zimmer era, and it trickled down to all positions, especially offensive line, where, hey, this is our decision, and we're not going to change it. We're not going to veer from this. That's why you never saw Mike Compton or Mike Remmers bench. That's why you saw Pal Elflein still tried out there. That's why you saw Drew Samia out there until he got hurt. That's why Oli Udoh just kept going out there every single week. And Wyatt Davis not getting the time of day Huh? I would not be shocked if the new regime, new GM, new head coach comes in, is like, hey, that Wyatt Davis guy, you know, that third-round pick, the pride of Ohio State, the guy who played at an All-American level at a big-time school, yeah, he's a stud. And guess what? We're going to play him, and guess what? He's going to turn into a Pro Bowler. Woo! It's going to happen. It is, but it's just Spielman throwing the haymaker here. He's basically saying, I drafted all these good players, but sometimes they didn't get the time of day because they didn't fit the scheme. Or it's kind of hard to get all these players that fit the scheme. Just, especially when the scheme keeps changing. So I commiserate with Spielman to a degree. Like, I obviously am Team Spielman. I think it would have made sense if they would have held on to him, but they wanted a fresh start because Spielman was part of the problem with Zimmer towards the end. Especially if that Deion Sanders report, which is obviously straight from Zimmer, is true that they weren't talking for long stretches of time. So, I don't know, but it's just beautiful, man. Like the more that you find out, and there's still going to be more. I mean, Zimmer will have a say. Maybe he'll have a sit down with Hannah Storm or whatever on ESPN or Tom Rinaldi, and then some of these anonymous leaks from players, or sometimes even players will go on the record and talk about, yeah, this sucked, and here's why, X, Y, Z. It's just beautiful, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. Spielman puts Zimmer in a body bag. Gonna need a body bag. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.